The stone corridors of the Crimson Keep reeked of blood and misery. Alara pressed herself against the cold wall, her heart hammering as guards dragged another screaming servant past her hiding spot. "Please, I didn't mean to look at him, I swear." The guard's laugh was cruel. "Should have thought of that before you got assigned to the monster's wing." Alara waited until their footsteps faded before emerging from the shadows. At 24, she'd survived 3 years in this hellish fortress by being invisible, an Omega so low-ranked she barely registered as alive to the nobles who ruled here. But invisibility had its advantages. It meant she could slip through the keep unnoticed. It meant she heard things others didn't. Like the whispers about Cell 13. "They say he's 11 feet tall," the kitchen girls murmured. "They say he killed the last Alpha King with his bare hands. They say he's so dangerous they keep him chained in the dark. They say anyone who feeds him dies." Alara clutched the bundle of bread and dried meat she'd stolen from the kitchens. She shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be doing this. But she'd seen the feeding schedules. Cell 13 hadn't received food in 6 days. 6 days. Even monsters needed to eat. The corridor leading to the maximum security wing was lit by torches that cast dancing shadows on walls stained with old blood. Alara's worn boots made no sound on the stone floor, another benefit of being forgotten. Expensive shoes for servants who mattered. Silence for those who didn't. She almost missed it. The cell at the end of the hall, set apart from the others. Where the other cells had barred doors, this one was solid iron, reinforced with bands of silver. The metal gleamed with runes she couldn't read. Magic. They'd used magic to contain him. A small slot at the bottom of the door, barely large enough for a tray, was the only opening. Through it, she could hear breathing. Deep, labored, the sound of something suffering. Alara knelt, her hands shaking as she unwrapped the food. This was insane. Suicidal. The last servant who'd tried to feed the prisoner in Cell 13 had lost 3 fingers before the guards pulled him back. But Alara had learned something during her 3 years of invisibility. The truly powerless understood each other. She slid the tray through the slot and waited. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, movement in the darkness. A shadow shifting. The scrape of chains dragging across stone. He was massive. Even crouched in the darkness of the cell, she could sense his size. Feel the weight of his presence pressing against the door like a physical force. The breathing stopped. "You should run, little Omega." His voice was a rumble that seemed to come from the earth itself, deep, ancient, edged with something that might have been concern. "They'll kill you for this." Alara's throat went dry. "You haven't eaten in 6 days." "I know." A pause. "How do you know?" I clean the duty logs when no one's watching." Another pause, longer this time. She could feel him studying her through the darkness, though she couldn't see his eyes. "What's your name?" "Alara." "Alara." He repeated it like he was tasting the word. "I'm Kale. I know who you are." Everyone knew. The Alpha King who'd been betrayed by his own court, imprisoned in his own fortress. "You killed King Aldrich." "Yes." No shame, no justification, just acknowledgement. "They say you're a monster." "They're not wrong." The chains rattled as he moved closer to the door. "So why are you here?" Alara looked at the tray of food, untouched. "Because they're starving you, and that's not justice. That's cruelty." Silence. Then slowly she heard him reach for the tray. The sound of him eating was careful, controlled. Nothing like the savage feeding frenzy she'd been warned about. "You're not afraid of me," he said finally. "I'm terrified," Alara admitted. "But fear is a poor reason to let someone starve." Something that might have been a laugh, or perhaps a growl, rumbled through the door. Brave little Omega, foolish, but brave. Will you, she hesitated, will you hurt me? If I come back? The silence stretched so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, no, I won't hurt you, Alara. His voice dropped to something almost gentle. You're the first person in 3 years who's shown me kindness. I won't repay that with violence. Relief flooded through her. Then I'll come back. Tomorrow. Don't. The word was sharp, urgent. They'll catch you eventually, and when they do, they'll make an example of you. Then I'll be careful. Ilara. But she was already standing, already moving back down the corridor before her courage could fail. Behind the iron door, Cale pressed his massive hand against the cold metal, feeling the lingering warmth where she'd knelt. In 3 years of captivity, no one had shown him kindness. No one had looked at him and seen anything but a monster to be destroyed. Until now. Until her. And something dark and possessive stirred in his chest. Something that recognized her on a level deeper than reason. The mate bond, dormant for centuries, suddenly roaring to life. Mine, his alpha instincts snarled. She's mine. Kyle closed his eyes, his massive frame trembling with the effort of restraining himself. He'd promised not to hurt her, but he hadn't promised to let her go. Because now that she'd fed him, now that she'd shown him compassion in this hell, he would never, ever let her walk away. Alara returned the next night, and the night after, and the night after that. Each time she brought what food she could steal. Each time Kel was waiting. They talked through the iron door, whispered conversations in the darkness while the keep slept above them. He told her about his life before, about the betrayal that had led to his imprisonment. She told him about growing up as an orphaned Omega, about the casual cruelties of a world that saw her as worthless. You're not worthless, Cale said one night, his voice carrying absolute conviction. You're the bravest person I've ever met. I'm just bringing you food. You're risking your life, every night, for someone everyone says is a monster. A pause. That's not just brave, that's extraordinary. Alara felt her cheeks heat in the darkness. You're not a monster. You haven't seen me yet. I don't need to see you to know you. Her voice was soft. Monsters don't thank me for bread. Monsters don't ask how my day was. Monsters don't... She trailed off. Don't what? Don't sound sad when they think I might stop coming. The chains rattled, a restless sound. I am sad. These visits are the only thing keeping me sane. Something in his voice made her chest ache. Kyle, what did they do to you? Besides imprison me? A bitter laugh. They keep me in darkness, chain me so I can barely move. The silver in the manacles burns my skin. They want me to break, to beg, to prove I'm the monster they say I am. But you won't. No, I won't give them the satisfaction. A pause. Though I'll admit, Alara, having you here makes it bearable. Almost worth it, just to hear your voice. Her breath caught. There was something in his tone, something that felt like more than gratitude. Cale. I know what you're going to say, he interrupted, that we barely know each other, that this is foolish, that I'm a prisoner, and you're... He made a frustrated sound. But I can't help it. You're in my head, Alara. In my blood. The bond... He stopped abruptly. Bond? Nothing. Forget I said anything. But Alara's heart was racing now. She'd heard whispers of mate bonds, the way alphas sometimes recognized their perfect match. The all-consuming pull that defied logic. Kyle, she said carefully. What bond? Silence, then roughly. The kind that means I'm yours, whether you want me or not. The words hung between them like a confession. Ilara didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to run. The sensible part that knew this was dangerous, impossible. But the other part, the part that had been drawn to this cell night after night, understood perfectly. "I should go," she whispered. "Alara, wait." But she was already gone, fleeing down the corridor with her heart pounding and her mind reeling. Behind the door, Cale slumped against the wall, cursing himself. Too much. Too soon. He'd frightened her with the truth of what she meant to him. But it didn't matter, because now that the bond had awakened, there was no going back. She was his, and he would move heaven and earth to claim her. 3 days later, Alara hadn't returned. Kyle counted each hour, each minute. The darkness that had always been his prison now felt suffocating in a way it never had before. She wasn't coming back. He'd scared her away with his possessive madness. Then, on the 4th night, he heard it. Footsteps. Rushing. Frantic. The slot opened, and Alara's tear-stained face appeared. "Cale, they know. They know I've been feeding you." Ice flooded his veins. "Run. Now." "I can't. They've locked down the keep. They're searching for me." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry. I was careful, I swear, but someone saw. Alara, listen to me." He pressed against the door, wishing he could touch her. "You have to hide. Go to the eastern cellars. There's a passage. There's no time. They're coming." She reached through the slot, her small hand trembling. I wanted to see you. One last time, even if I can't really see you." Cale's massive hand enveloped hers, the first real touch between them. Her skin was soft, warm, perfect. "No," he growled. "This isn't the last time. I won't let them hurt you. You're chained. You can't. I'm an Alpha King. Alara. These chains have held me because I let them." His voice dropped to something primal and fierce. "But if they threaten what's mine, nothing will hold me." "Cale!" Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Torchlight flickered. "Found her!" A guard's triumphant shout. Alara tried to pull her hand back, but Cale held on. "Whatever happens, remember this. You're mine, and I protect what's mine." Then he did what he'd been holding back for 3 years. He broke free. The sound was catastrophic, metal screaming as he tore through chains that had been forged to hold creatures 10 times human strength. The door, reinforced with magic and silver, buckled under the force of his rage. Guards appeared at the end of the corridor, weapons drawn. Behind them, nobles in fine clothes came to witness the execution of the foolish Omega, who'd fed the monster. But they stopped dead when the door exploded outward. Cale emerged from cell 13 like a nightmare given form. He was enormous, 11 feet of pure alpha dominance, with shoulders that blocked the corridor and hands that could crush skulls. His skin was marked with scars from the silver chains. His eyes burned like molten gold in the torchlight. He looked like every terrifying story they'd told about him, until his eyes found Alara. Then something in his expression gentled, just for a moment, before he turned that burning gaze on the guards. "Run," he said quietly. They did. All except one, a captain stupid enough to level his sword at Alara. Cale moved faster than something his size should be able to move. One moment he was across the corridor. The next, the captain was pinned against the wall, Cale's massive hand wrapped around his throat. "You pointed a weapon at my mate," Cale said, his voice death itself. "Give me one reason I shouldn't tear you apart." "Cale, please." Alara's voice cut through the rage. "Don't kill him. Don't prove them right." Cale's hand tightened, just for a second, before he hurled the captain down the corridor like a rag doll. Then he turned to Alara. She should have been terrified. Should have run like the others. Instead, she looked up at him, really looked at him for the first time, and felt her breath catch. He was terrifying, beautiful, utterly overwhelming, and looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "You came back," she whispered. "Always." He knelt so they were closer to eye level, though he still towered over her. I told you. You're mine, Alara. Nothing will change that. Even if I'm just an Omega? Even if I'm nobody? You're not nobody. His hand, massive, scarred, deadly, cupped her face with devastating gentleness. You're everything. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft. It was possession and desperation, and 3 years of starvation for connection condensed into a single moment. And Alara, sensible, invisible Alara, kissed him back. Because fate was cruel and mad and impossible. But it was also undeniable. 1 month later, the nobles who'd imprisoned Kale were dead or exiled. The corrupt court that had enabled Aldrich's tyranny was dismantled, and Alara stood in the throne room wearing a crown she'd never dreamed of touching, beside an Alpha King who looked at her like she'd hung the stars. You know they'll never truly accept me, she said quietly, as courtiers filed in for the coronation ceremony. An Omega Queen. Then they'll learn to live with disappointment. Kyle's hand found hers, still so much larger, still capable of crushing stone, but gentle as silk when it touched her. You fed me when I was starving. You saw me when I was invisible. You're my queen in every way that matters. I'm terrified I'll fail you. Impossible. He pulled her close, uncaring of the watching crowd. You already saved me. Everything else is just details. The coronation proceeded. Vows were spoken. Crowns were placed. And when Kale kissed his new queen before the assembled court, the message was clear. She had fed the monster. And the monster had chosen to keep her forever. The end. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if this story left you breathless, please subscribe for more tales of impossible love and unbreakable bonds.